Breaking news. The U.S. Supreme Court is preparing to release its final decisions before ending its 2026 term, and these rulings could have a major impact on immigration, presidential power, and transgender rights across America. One of the biggest cases focuses on birthright citizenship. President Donald Trump signed an executive order at the beginning of his second term aiming to end automatic U.S. citizenship for children born to undocumented immigrants and some temporary visa holders. The key legal question is whether a president has the authority to change a constitutional principle that has been recognized for more than 150 years under the 14th Amendment. The court's decision could reshape U.S. immigration policy for generations. Another closely watched issue involves presidential authority over independent federal agencies. The justices are considering whether the president can remove officials from agencies like the Federal Trade Commission and potentially other independent bodies without showing cause or providing a hearing. Supporters argue this strengthens executive leadership, while critics warn it could reduce the independence of agencies designed to operate without political pressure. The court is also reviewing cases involving transgender athletes. At the center of the debate is whether states can legally prohibit transgender athletes from competing in girls' sports. The ruling could influence school sports policies and civil rights laws nationwide. All eyes are now on the Supreme Court as it prepares to release its final opinions by June 30th. These landmark decisions could shape American law and politics for years to come. A new political showdown is unfolding in New York City. President Donald Trump is sharply criticizing a controversial rent freeze approved by New York City's Rent Guidelines Board, while city leaders are calling it a major win for working families. The Rent Guidelines
Lisa
Board
Murkowski
has
of
voted
Alaska.
to freeze rents
You
on
should
many
call her
rent-stabilized
and tell her to
apartments
get on the
for
ball.
years. Supporters say
She'll
the
never
move
win
will
another
provide
election, I can
financial
tell
relief
you.
for
She has
tenants
got to
struggling
get,
with the
she's got to
high
vote.
cost of living.
It's called
But
the Save
President
America
Trump
Act.
strongly condemned the decision, arguing that freezing rents would discourage investment in housing. He claimed the policy could lead to deteriorating buildings and described it as harmful to both New York City and the country. Political analysts say Trump's criticism is also part of a broader election strategy. By portraying the rent freeze as an example of socialist policies, he is appealing to conservative voters ahead of the upcoming midterm elections. Housing policy is quickly becoming one of the most closely watched issues in the national political debate, with both parties trying to define the conversation. Meanwhile, Mayor Mamdani's administration has chosen not to respond directly to Trump's remarks. Instead, city officials celebrated the rent freeze as a historic victory for working-class New Yorkers. They say their focus remains on keeping housing affordable while reducing building costs and expanding access to homes across the city. The debate over affordable housing is far from over, and this clash between President Trump and New York City's leadership could become a major issue in the months ahead. What do you think? Should rent freezes be used to protect tenants, or do they create bigger problems for housing? Let us know in the comments and subscribe for more breaking U.S. political news. Breaking news from the Middle East. Tensions between the United States and Iran have escalated once again after fresh U.S. military strikes reportedly targeted key Iranian military infrastructure. Here's everything you need to know. According to U.S. officials, the latest strikes targeted Iranian surveillance systems, communication networks, air defense positions, drone storage facilities, and mine-laying capabilities. The operation reportedly followed an attack on a Panama-flagged oil tanker carrying nearly 2 million barrels of crude oil while traveling through the strategically important Strait of Hormuz. The U.S. says the military action was taken in response to that incident. Reports indicate explosions were heard in the southern Iranian cities of Sirik and Kesh. At the same time, security concerns spread across the Gulf region. Kuwait, activated its air defenses after reports of missile and drone activity, while air raid sirens sounded in Bahrain, highlighting fears that the conflict could expand beyond Iran. President Donald Trump said the strikes were carried out in response to what he described as violations of a ceasefire agreement. In a statement posted on Truth Social, he warned that Iran could face severe consequences if hostilities continue. Iran has not accepted the U.S. characterization of events, and both sides continue to exchange accusations. Reports indicate explosions were heard in the southern Iranian cities of Sirik and Kesh. At the same time, security concerns spread across the Gulf region. Kuwait activated its air defenses after reports of missile and drone activity, while air raid sirens sounded in Bahrain, highlighting fears that the conflict could expand beyond Iran. President Donald Trump said the strikes were carried out in response to what he described as violations of a ceasefire agreement. In a statement posted on Truth Social, he warned that Iran could face severe consequences if hostilities continue. Iran has not accepted the U.S. characterization of events, and both sides continue to exchange accusations.